The Victorian age is more than a century behind us, and yet it continues to hold attention in a way few other periods do. Why is that?
Welcome to Literally Victorian with your host, Matthew Lee Hanson.
Hello and welcome to the channel. My name is Matthew and I'm very glad to be with you once again. The Victorian age appears in books, in film, and in the way we imagine the past itself. But why is that? What is it about the Victorian era that continues to draw us back to it? Well, I think part of the answer lies in where the period sits in history. And I've said it many a time on this channel that the Victorian age really was a time of transition, expanding industry, and growing cities. Technology advanced at a pace that had not been seen before. It was a world moving forward, but not entirely leaving the past behind. Old structures remained as new ones emerged, and the two often existed side by side. This created a contrast: progress and hardship, refinement and difficulty, public order and private reality. The Victorian world was not consistent. It was layered, and it is often within these layers that the most interesting details are to be found. There is also something else. The Victorian era feels distant but not entirely unfamiliar. Many of the systems we recognise today began to take shape during this period. Urban life, mass communication, structured work. The world becomes recognisable, but still different enough to feel separate. What often draws attention is not only the larger events, but the smaller details. The daily routines, social expectations, and the way people lived within the limits of their time. These details created a sense of presence, a feeling that the period was not abstract, but lived. There is also an interest in what was not immediately visible, the aspects of Victorian life that were less often discussed. The quieter elements, the things that sit just outside the formal picture. These are often the most revealing, not because they are dramatic, but because they show how life was actually experienced. The Victorian age is often associated with restraint and control, with the careful management of behaviour. But restraint does not remove reality. It changes how it is expressed. And in that space between what is shown and what is withheld, something more complex appears. For many, the interest in the Victorian era does not begin with a single event. It develops gradually, a detail, a story, a contrast that stands out. And over time, those details begin to connect. What first appears as curiosity becomes something more sustained. Not an attempt to define the period completely, but to understand it more closely. The Victorian era endures because it does not resolve easily. It contains too many contradictions to be simplified, too many perspectives to be reduced to a single idea. And so it remains open, something to return to, something to reconsider. The Victorian age is not only remembered for what it achieved, but also for what it contained. A world in motion, structured but uncertain, familiar yet distant. And it is perhaps this balance that continues to draw the attention. Not because it is fully understood, but because it just isn't. Thank you very much for watching, and if you'd prefer to read about the age of the Victorians rather than listen to me, then head over to Amazon where you'll find 3 books from the channel to choose from. And can I also say a thank you to everyone who's been supporting the channel and watching the videos. It does motivate me to carry on and to find ways to improve your experience in watching and learning about this extraordinary time in history. So until next time, farewell for now.